does it feel living that good life? Never ever really have to think twice about who you step on, you'll just pay the breakaway. Send them the bill when you can today. Let's talk about making it where everybody.
Here we are. This is the iPhone 11 Pro review. I've been using this phone for about a week, and I've really been liking it. So, in no particular order, here are some of my favorite features of the phone, starting with battery life. I think this could be one of the more underrated parts of this phone because there are so many other things to talk about, but the battery life is truly phenomenal. You get 4 hours more battery on the iPhone 11 Pro versus iPhone XS, and 5 hours more on the iPhone 11 Pro Max versus iPhone XS Max. And I'm coming from the iPhone 8 Plus, which was considered a battery beast due to its tremendous size. But I'm getting heavy usage out of this phone and still finishing every day at above 30%, which is crazy. And this isn't even the max. I know that there are phones out there with better battery, but personally, this is the best battery in any phone that I've ever used. Where my iPhone 8 Plus would run out and I'd be plugged into a wall, this guy still has half battery left. But in order to make room for the bigger battery, the iPhone 11 Pro is not only thicker, but it did get rid of one feature. And this is really the only sacrifice you make with the iPhone 11 Pro, and that's 3D Touch. 3D Touch has been replaced with haptic touch. So now you just long press on an app, live photos or widgets, and you get the haptic feedback and you see the extra options. You aren't losing any real functionality here, it's just a bit more time consuming. Since instead of just pressing hard on the display, you now just press for a long time. But personally, if no one ever told me this, I probably wouldn't have even noticed. I don't really use 3D Touch, and when I do, the extra couple seconds to do the long press is worth it for me, considering the hours of extra battery I'm getting. Apple's actually made a lot of changes to the inside of the phone, but of course the best one is the new chip, Apple's A13. There's not much to talk about here, but it's fast. It's still the best smartphone chip around, and Snapdragon and Android are nearly a year behind. Definitely noticed the difference, especially coming from the Apple A11 chip on the iPhone 8 Plus. But Apple also found room to add another chip, Apple's U1 chip. While we don't know much about this yet, this has been a long time coming, as Apple's been working on the ultra-wideband technology the U1 chip provides for years. Right now, the only functionality is that you can send documents through AirDrop a bit quicker by pointing your phone towards another phone and allowing the phones to find each other using ultra-wideband. There's so much more potential for this technology. This chip will probably become a crucial element to the rumored Apple Tile they're working on, which would essentially allow you to track lost items on the new Find My app in iOS 13. There's a wallet, or maybe there's a case for your phone, I don't know. But this isn't a leaks and rumors video, this is a review. So as for right now, the chip is pretty useless, but I'll be sure to update you guys when Apple releases new products using the U1 chip. As far as the display, it looks nearly identical to the iPhone XS and XS Max, it's just a bit brighter. I'm not going to go into specific specs, but all you need to know is if you have an iPhone X or XS, you probably aren't going to notice a difference in the screen, other than maybe in the sun at full brightness. It's still Retina, it still has a notch, and the ratio of screen to body, as far as percentage, is still the same. But in that notch, at least you have some improvements. Face ID is now faster, and it supposedly works better at different angles. Although as other viewers have noted, that's not something that anyone's really seen yet. Although the front of the new phone looks the same, the new design on the back is actually pretty different. It looked really horrible in renders, in leaks, before the phone was released, but like usual, it really looks a lot better in person. The matte finish is really nice, and the space gray is the closest Apple's gotten to that matte black iPhone 7, which was one of my favorite iPhone colors ever. Still had to go for the gold this time though, as that will always be my favorite. The Apple logo is now in the center, and it no longer says any words on the phone at all. So Apple just trusts their branding and logo enough that despite it not saying iPhone anywhere on the phone, you can just tell it's an iPhone. But looking up, you get the greatest feature of all, the fidget spinner looking cameras. So as I'm sure you know, you've got 3 cameras. The new ultra-wide camera for taking landscapes and pictures of big things or groups, the regular wide camera that's been there since the beginning, and then the telephoto camera, which have all been improved in different ways. The ultra-wide camera has become my go-to for shooting pictures outside, especially in the daytime, since it just really does allow for capturing a much more full shot. Plus, it's so tempting when you're in wide, and you see on the sides what your shot could be if you went wide. But the ultra-wide camera doesn't look quite as good as the other cameras. It shoots with an f2.4 aperture, which is definitely noticeable, as it's a bit darker than the other two cameras. And especially when the subject itself is darker, you can start to see a bit of vignetting around the edges. But even just having that ultra-wide camera is a huge step up. It gives Apple an edge over the Pixel. But that's where the functionality of the ultra-wide camera ends. It's kind of just there. If you want to use portrait mode or night mode, then you have to use the other two cameras. But again, it's still really nice to have for shooting during daytime and landscapes. And plus, you wouldn't want to use ultra-wide for portrait photography anyways. Trust me, it really distorts the image. And that's not Apple's fault. That's just how ultra-wides work. But let's talk about portrait mode and night mode. Portrait mode seems to be a bit improved, and its edge detection is still really good. But of all of the new camera improvements, that's gotta be the most underwhelming, since portrait mode still feels surprisingly digital and fake. And in order for it to look real and truly look professional like a real camera shot it, Apple will still need to get better with edge detection and realistic bokeh. The main improvement though is that you can now take wide angle portrait mode. So I guess adding the third camera allows you to be able to shoot dual camera portrait mode, and when you only had dual cameras, you could only shoot single camera portrait mode. So that's nice. In the past, if I wanted to shoot a portrait mode picture, I would have to walk farther away from the subject. But now at least I can use the main camera and take a bit of a wider shot. But look out for my annual video where I show you pictures shot with both an iPhone and a real pro camera. And it's your job to try and tell the difference and figure out which one's which. Always a fun video to do, coming soon. But of course, we can't leave out night mode. Essentially, night mode is just a long exposure shot, but Apple uses stabilization, so even if you're not using a tripod, it doesn't look super blurry and unfocused if the camera moves a bit while the shutter is open. You can shoot night mode on both the wide and telephoto cameras, although it's always going to look better on the wide camera due to that f1.8 aperture. And if you're locked on a tripod, Apple can sense it. And when you're in really dark environments, it can turn the shutter to be an even longer exposure shot, which is really awesome. Like here, this was shot in total darkness at around 10 p.m. Yet you can totally see what's going on, and you can see trees and shadows when there really is almost no light. Seems like a potential VSCO pick, if you know what I mean. Looks like putting on a pair of night goggles. Brings light when there is none. But that's a much more extreme example. Where you're really gonna see some great results is at dusk, when it's just dark enough that it would look bad on a regular smartphone camera, but great in portrait mode. This photo, for example, was taken at around 8 p.m. when it was pretty dark out. And it looks nice, taken at an exposure of 1 second. And while I couldn't turn night mode off, I didn't know how to take a comparison photo, here's the same photo shot on an iPhone 6s. It's really pretty amazing to think how far the iPhone camera has come. But as far as video, there aren't quite as many improvements. Still shoots in 4K at 60 frames per second and looks about the same, although there is no portrait or night mode for video, which would have been awesome. But honestly, there didn't need to be as big of an upgrade to video. Apple's iPhone XS already shot the best video of any smartphone on the market, undebatably, and the iPhone 11 Pro definitely continues that tradition. I mean, at this point, you really can't get that much better than this. But Apple did add a ton of new video editing features to iOS 13, which I talked about in my iOS 13 review a little while ago. But where you're going to see the biggest camera improvements is in the selfie camera. The selfie camera is essentially as good as the iPhone XR's main camera, except it's on the front and compacted to fit inside of that notch. It shoots 4K video at 60 frames per second, something that not even all flagships can say about their main camera, and it now adds a better portrait mode, a boost to 12 megapixels for photos, and slow motion, or slow-fies, as Apple calls it. It also can go wider, so when you flip the camera horizontal, it adds more room to the frame to incorporate your friends or other people in the shot. I don't even know how that works. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And there's still a lot of stuff I didn't even have time to talk about, like how Apple included a USB-C fast charger in the box, which was quite generous of them, or how the new iPhone is now the most waterproof of any mainstream phone on the market today, rated to be able to survive at depths of 4 meters for 30 minutes, which is quite impressive. Or how, with Filmic Pro, the new iPhone will soon be able to take advantage of having 3 cameras by allowing you to film with all 3 at once, and then later in post, pick which angle you liked the best. And of course, the spatial audio, which really does make these phones a hell of a lot louder. All of these features cumulatively making what Apple calls a pro phone. And honestly, I agree with them. Apple throws around this pro word as if it's nothing, but honestly, if you're a pro in any space and you're looking to have the best phone to support your needs, I can't think of really asking for more. And if you are looking for more in a phone, comment down below what you think. If you're thinking the opposite, like this is all too much and you don't need all these features, then the iPhone 11 is for you. And let me know if you want a separate video detailing that phone in its entirety as well, as it's one of the best deals Apple's had in a while. Essentially, it's just a watered down iPhone 11 Pro for $300 less. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed the video since this has been a long time coming. Don't forget to ring that like button and subscribe to my bell, because I will see you guys next time. I'm Jack, peace out.